February Civic Coffee. So this is a monthly event that Age Friendly Seattle hosts in partnership with our friends at the Seattle Public Library. And we rotate where we host events around the city. So we have been in West Seattle, South Seattle, and we're here today in Ballard and happy to be here. Thank you to the Ballard Senior Center for hosting us. And thanks to all of you for being here. So my name is Dinah Stevens, and I'm going to moderate today's discussion. And I'll let our panelists introduce themselves. But before I do, I'll just say a quick couple logistical items. We are recording today, so if you want to listen again, we do post these on our website. If you've got friends you think could benefit from this information, you can share it with them. So we will be taking questions occasionally also from people who are joining us online. If you have a question today, feel free to, we're a pretty big group, so you can raise your hand and I'll try to kind of organize us. Or there will be pieces of paper passed around, and if you want to jot your question down, our team members will bring them up to our panelists. So we want to make this a conversation, so feel free to ask questions and share your feedback along the way. And with that, I do also want to start us off with a land acknowledgement. We are here today on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish people, and we honor with gratitude both the land itself and those who have stewarded it. If you'd like to learn more, you can visit realrentduwamish.org to find out more about the people who have lived here and still live here for a long time and how you can support. So with that, we are talking about digital equity today and digital privacy. So much of our lives happen online now. I mean, raise your hand if you've had to log into something to do a daily task in the last week. Probably most of us, right? So whether that's trying to navigate doctor's appointments, my chart visits, paying a utility bill, online shopping, or just FaceTiming with friends and family, a lot happens online. Raise your hand if you've also been targeted by a scam, if you've ever received a phishing email or a text that felt a little bit wrong. I get them constantly, and they can be really hard to recognize. So today we're going to be talking about digital literacy. How can we all gain the skills and knowledge that it takes to navigate today's world, and what can we do to protect ourselves and keep our data as private as we would like. So with that, I will introduce our panelists, and I think I will just go in order here. So I'm going to start with Sharon Navas from Equity and Education Coalition.
Hi everybody, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Sharon Navas. I am the founder of an organization called Equity and Education Coalition. We started in August of 2012. I never anticipated that digital equity was going to be something I ever talked about. For me, that meant calling Comcast once a year and having them tell me that I waste too much time on the internet and that I have to still pay $180 a month, and that's just the way it's going to be. That was the extent of digital equity for me at the very beginning of the organization. In 2020, however, life became very different for all of us. Right? We shut down the state. Suddenly, your lifeline was getting online and trying to figure out how you were going to get food delivered, your health care, all of that. And as we all remember, Washington State was the first state to have the coronavirus back in March of 2020. And I didn't really think about the internet as much until my mom called from New York and said, hey, everybody wants to know how to do FaceTime. I don't know how to use my phone. And then I subsequently spent an hour and a half trying not to kill my mother while I taught her how to use her phone. And things like press the green button meant something very different to her than it did to me. Evidently, having a phone that has a screen that doesn't actually have a button was a point of frustration for both my mother and I, to the point where I told her I loved her. I told her to put daddy on the phone, and I subsequently didn't talk to her for a week, and was just like, I love you very, very much. I have got to go. And then my father was just like, now you know what I live with every day. I was like, okay, I've lived with her for 40 plus years. I did not ever think this was going to be the relationship I had with my mom. And then I realized that what I was experiencing with my mom was something that a lot of us experience with anybody over 10 years older than us, is this fear of technology, this fear of, I'm gonna break it, or I've never used it before, I don't know what it is, I don't know how to use it, someone's going to make fun of me. And what I realized was that not only is it our elders that have to contend with that, but it's also our youth. So then we started, as an organization, thinking, how do we bring our youth to work with our elders to sort of mitigate that fear, to get rid of that fear? Because a lot of our elders, my mom, one of them, have seen such amazing technological growth in their lifetime, but we don't shepherd them through these next, iterations of growth, right? So when my mom got her first cell phone, she got a jitterbug, because I was just like, that's the one you're getting. And I never really sat her down and explained what the internet was, what a phone was, how to use it, how to be productive. And when we launched some of the digital equity stuff that we do, we became very conscious
Recording
of—
in progress.
we became very conscious of, thank God it's now, we became very conscious of always having like a volunteer who can talk to our elders, a volunteer who can understand and empathize with the fact that not everyone wakes up and has their phone attached to their face like I do, right? So, it's the same thing for, and when I say elder, I mean anybody over the age of 40. Like, that's what an elder to me is, because, a lot of our 21-year-olds and plus, they know, they're used to it, they're comfortable, they're fine with it, but it's folks who have dealt with life pre-phone, pre-laptop, pre-desktop, that sometimes are looking for that one moment of, I know you're scared, it's okay, no matter what you do, you're not gonna break it. And if you do, we'll fix it. And that has sort of been the way that we've been working around digital equity, especially with anybody that, again, like I said, isn't born with this into their face. So that's what we do. No, sorry.
No, that's okay. I might do a reverb thing if we can.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? A little bit more?
Yeah, you're gonna have to take it.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone, I am Sarah Carrier. I work with the City of Seattle. I am the city's privacy program manager. This is my team, over in the corner. I'm the city's privacy program manager and also managing the newly minted Responsible AI program. Our program is nested within the Seattle IT department, but we serve all city departments, helping them to navigate privacy considerations around the collection and management of the public's personal information. So when you interact with the city, when you get a city service, maybe you sign up for your utility bill, we need your address or your phone number, or your email, things like that. It's providing departments with the tools that they need to make sure that they're handling it responsibly, so we don't accidentally, expose your information in an inappropriate way. So we kind of act as a resource provider and a consultative service manner with all the city departments in the data privacy space and all of the lines of business that the city delivers to folks. I've been with the city with the privacy program for approximately 6 years now, and it has evolved a lot over time. 2020 was very interesting. And now we have a new call to action around some of the emerging technologies that have come up over the last couple of years around generative AI and AI as well, right? And trying to identify what are the risks, how can we mitigate those, and how can we enable this technology in a safe and responsible manner, both within the city to create efficiencies perhaps, but also to help inform people of what to look out for, what are the risks, and how they can also use it in a way that benefits them in their personal lives. So that's what I do. Well, thank you both for being here.
Yeah.
So Sharon, yes, love that enthusiasm. So Sharon, you shared a little bit about what equity in education does broadly. Can you tell us some specific initiatives and programs that aim at improving digital literacy across technology, and particularly for older adults?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, you're fine. So again, in 2020, so we are an education organization for the most part. We do a lot of research, think tank stuff. We look at public policy. So direct service is not exactly what we do, except, of course, in 2020, we became in March and April of 2020, we transitioned completely to be a COVID rapid response organization. So, and I'm just giving a little context so that you can sort of understand the growth of the organization. At the beginning of 2020, we were a staff of 4. We were a statewide organization, which meant that we would go from Seattle to Tacoma and then back. That was sort of our idea of statewide. Like, we never really left King County. And then Pierce County was like a 4-day trip where, like, we were just like, okay, we're going to Pierce County. I live in Renton, and driving up here was a nightmare. So I was just like, okay, I'm taking a whole weekend to go to Ballard. So for us, statewide meant, you know, you had a phone call with someone in a 360 number, and that was pretty much it. And then, of course, Corona came, and we started hearing from our communities, especially the communities that don't speak English as a dominant language, that they didn't understand what coronavirus was. They didn't know. They were afraid. A lot of the information that was coming from the Department of Health was not understandable to them, because they were like big words, right? And they didn't understand what all of that meant. So we, much to the horror of my husband, we pulled in every favor that we could from our staff and our team and everyone that we knew, and we had 15,000 gallons of hand sanitizer delivered to my house. We had 100. Yeah, that conversation that morning was intense. Because the delivery truck, the freight truck just showed up at the house one day, and my husband came in and was just like, "What did you order? And why is it here?" And I was like, "Oh." And then we distributed 180,000 masks in the first 2 months, and if you guys remember, masks were really hard to get. And then we pushed the state when we were starting to get phone calls from students and families when they shut down the state. They were just like, "We don't have a laptop, we don't have a tablet, we don't know how to get online, we don't know what this online stuff is." And you know, Amazon did their thing, and they gave out 8,600 tablets to Seattle Public Schools, but then we realized that the software that they have isn't compatible with the learning system that they were using. So we tried to collect as many tablets, wipe them of the software, install new software, and I don't do that for a living. So I had to go to YouTube University and find out what that meant. And then, you know, successfully we were able to distribute thousands of laptops over the summer, and then we launched the first elder vaccine site in King County that September, and we were able to do that kind of rapid response. I say all that because the more we talked with families, the more we talked with community, the more they told us this shutdown is really hard. Not just because you couldn't go to see your friends, but some people were having babies in the middle of the pandemic. Some people hadn't, you know, it was the first time a lot of our families had never gone home or had their families come for Thanksgiving or Memorial Day. And a lot of our elders were really suffering because they came to community centers like this, and then suddenly they couldn't, right? This was their only way of socializing during the week, and they suddenly couldn't do that. They didn't know what 6 feet apart meant. They didn't really understand like why they had to mask up. You can't hear people when they're talking. I think for us, it was like, I come from a very privileged place where my husband worked in technology, so when we shut down, And he's socially introverted and awkward, so when we shut down, he's like, yes, I never had to talk to anybody in my life. Meanwhile, I started crying and was just like, oh my God, I'm not gonna see people for 20 minutes and that's not enough. So, you know, when we started doing this kind of work, we connected with the state libraries, the local libraries, and said, okay, what is it that our communities need? And our communities were saying we need some kind of social connection, right? So we, I know some people are gonna hate me, but we called Facebook and we're just like, hey, our families don't know how to use Facebook. They use WhatsApp, they use these other apps. How are we doing, what are we doing here? And a friend who actually works there basically turned and said, what does your community need? And our response was, our community needs a group of kids. This is exactly what I said. So if you're gonna call me ageist, I'm gonna give you the reason why. I said, our community needs a group of kids that can quickly and gently tell our families how to get online, how to use the internet, how to be safe online, and what to look for when they're doing like FaceTime with their families. So we launched the first multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-age help desk so that families could call. And we've gotten calls from hey, I have a blue screen on my laptop, I don't know what that means, to, I actually remember this one call where the person was just like, hey, there was sparks coming out of my laptop, and I'm not, it doesn't smell right anymore, and we're just like, okay, you want to step away from the laptop, call 911, you know, it's, and then we've had some folks who called and were just like, I haven't seen my grandchild ever, and I don't know how to do that. And we'll sometimes get on the call with kids and families and say, okay, do you want us to walk you through how to start a FaceTime conversation with your family? And we've been able to experience those moments where we've had grandmothers and grandfathers for the first time ever seeing their grandkids on FaceTime. And you know, it's heartwarming and beautiful. But also, then we've had moments where people are calling and saying, we just got scammed out of $10,000, and I don't know who to call, what to do, who to talk to. And we have people that we can call at the Attorney General's office and say, hey, this just happened, this is the bank that they have, let's stop the process. How do we go back and start teaching our families how to be safe online? So.
And do you still run that hotline? Is that available for people?
Yes, yes. We'll give the information.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay, but yes, short answer, yes. So Sharon brought up some privacy concerns and data concerns. So what are some of the unique privacy concerns that older adults in particular might face in today's digital age? And what steps can people do to ensure that they're as safe as possible online?
Yeah, so I want to start by saying there are some unique, particularly privacy concerns for older adults, and I would also say for younger adults as well, like young children in the online space when it comes to their privacy. But I also want to make a note that it is not just, you know, older folks and younger folks, right? So earlier in the conversation, we had talked about who's been a target of a scam, right, or a phishing campaign where you click the wrong link in your email, right? It happens to everyone all of the time. It's happened to me. It happens to people all the time. So I just want to start by saying it is not anything that is unique or anything to kind of, you know, be ashamed of or scared. It happens to all people. But that is one of the big privacy concerns, right? That we do have. We do unfortunately have situations where bad actors, with not the best intent, will try to get your sensitive information, right? Sometimes that comes in your emails. Sometimes that comes through, you know, you might get a virus on your machine or something like that, and they can scoop up a whole bunch of your data, right? And a lot of times they will target folks who maybe don't know certain things to look for in email. You know, kind of appeal to fear or try to gain your trust so you can willingly provide that information that they're looking for, right? Things like bank account numbers or social security numbers, or hey, can you give me your password to this because I was trying to help you, right? That type of thing. And so that is a really, really big concern. And I think another thing is over the years we've seen an uptick in a lot of extra data collection, right? Of personal information by the websites we use, the apps we use, you know, and some of that is helpful, right? Some of that is like, I want to get my Uber Eats delivered, so I need to share my location, right? Some of it provides a lot of utility for us. But sometimes it can be a challenge because then it can also be so much information that people can create kind of dossiers on folks, right? Where are you? Where have you been? What do you like to do? Who do you like to spend time with, right? And so I think one of the things to be aware of is there are ways that you can kind of identify some of the data when you interact online with these websites or applications. What information are they collecting about you? And how can you adjust, right? Through things like privacy settings, or you know, turn off, maybe I don't want them to know where my location is if I just am visiting a random website, right? So there are some definitely concerns. I would also say that in terms of tips and tricks for identifying things like scams or threats, there are some really particular things you can look for. Things like very common misspellings in the email or who it's from, if you don't know who it is. You know, I think in our world we kind of like to say, if it feels kind of off, trust your intuition, right? Oh, I don't know who this email is from, right? Or something like that. And also keep in mind, like reputable companies, things like your medical providers, MyChart, banks, things like that, they're never going to ask you to send sensitive information over email, right? They may say, hey, go to this portal, you know, sign into your MyChart, right? And then, you know, you can provide whatever information that you need to there, right? They're never going to be like, hey, let me send you an email and you can send me all of your bank account information back via email. They're not going to do that, right? So if you get the email like that, it's those things you can be aware of to kind of flag for yourself to say, this doesn't quite feel right. They shouldn't be asking this in this way, right? And so I think those are some of the things that are a lot of, that we see a lot in this space around, you know, potential threats. And again, not just for older folks, but also for younger folks and everyone.
Because we're all vulnerable to these things,
yes.
It's possible that sometimes we do open the email we shouldn't open, we click on the link we shouldn't click on. What happens then, and what should we do if you click on something and then sort of immediately have that gut feeling like, oh shoot, this is probably not legit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. So I think the first thing to do is you should probably talk to someone. Talk to someone, right? Talk to someone who might know, like a family member who maybe, you know, is maybe like your husband or something, right? Someone who knows a little bit more about tech, right? It's always important also to report things. So if you provided on accident or clicked on something and entered in like your bank account number or something, right? Because you thought it was a legitimate link, then you need to contact your bank, right? You need to say, hey, I clicked this link. It's kind of like if you were to drop your wallet or something and lose your card, right? The first thing you want to do is call your bank and say, hey, I lost my card, right? And that way they can help to walk back any kind of financial implications that could have happened as a result of that accidentally clicking the link. So those are the things kind of that I would recommend. Yeah.
Good advice. So Sharon, you've shared some personal stories, Sharon, apologies.
That's okay.
Some personal stories about your mother kind of struggling to access technology. And again, it's a real range. I'll say that my grandmother at one point asked all of us grandkids if we could do something on her Apple Watch. We're like, we don't have an Apple Watch, Grandma. You're way ahead of us. So everyone's on the spectrum somewhere, regardless of age. But what are some of the challenges that you see folks often struggle with? And what kind of strategies or skills do you think people can build to help them overcome those challenges?
So some of the struggles, the one struggle everybody, regardless of age or any other demographic, the one struggle I see on a daily basis is the fear of being wrong, right? The fear of, I don't know how to do this, you're gonna make fun of me, I don't want someone to tell me how dumb I am, or like, why didn't I know this? Or it's the fear of being wrong. And learning is uncomfortable. Like if it were comfortable, we'd all be learning all the time, and we'd all be making a living off of it. Learning is very uncomfortable, and technology is very uncomfortable. Like, you know, I desperately try to never get a new phone because I don't want to have to deal with it, right? Like when I got a new fridge, I cried because I couldn't figure the buttons out. And my husband's just like, oh, technology is great. Like he would get the first of everything if he could, but we don't have any money, so we don't. You know, but the learning is uncomfortable, and that moment of, I don't know how to use this, can be really fraught with fear and this assumption that you're gonna be made fun of, or someone's gonna say, how come you didn't know, or, you know, and that's the thing that for us, when we receive a phone call, or we have drop-in, so there are different community centers that we have drop-ins throughout Washington State. There's a couple of other places, like there's a couple of Buddhist temples where we do drop-ins, where people come and say, hey, I don't know. And the first couple of months was really lonely because no one came. No one wanted to come and say, hey, I don't know how to use my laptop. I've never turned it on. My someone brought it to me and they didn't teach me how to do it. And then slowly one person came, then that one person told their friend, family member, or community, like neighbor, and then slowly and surely we started having more and more people come to say, I don't know how to use this. And what we've done is we've actually trained all of our staff, regardless of whether they work in digital equity or not, to come from a place of curiosity and say, okay, how can I help you? At the end of this conversation, what would you like to be doing, right? Because sometimes it's, I just want to sign up for an email so that I can get alerts from my family, or I want to, we had one family member who wanted to take pictures of all of the photographs that she had found in photo albums and then share those with her family, right? So we were just like, oh, that's great. And then she came in the next week and was just like, so my nephew told me something about clouds. I was like, okay, not clouds, the cloud. She's like, whatever. And then she's like, I want to put these in clouds. I'm like, that's not, okay. That's not how it works, but all right. And then, you know, slowly and surely, she started bringing her friends and her other, you know, whatever's, and then we started, now we have like a whole cloud book thing of just family members and pictures, and some of their families, because they're so far away, they live in Mexico, they live in Central America, they've never seen these pictures before, and now they can, and they can share them, right? So again, going to the point of age, fear of not knowing and being able to say, I have no idea how to use this, is the one thing we need to overcome. And it's probably one of the hardest and easiest, right? Because once you overcome it, then you're open to more and more learning, which has been amazing.
So I guess the question then to Sarah is, what tools does the city of Seattle provide that can help people overcome that kind of fear or other challenges that they may face? Okay.
So I think that I can answer that kind of twofold, right? So I think that the work that we do on my team with the city lines of business, right? We're trying to build privacy preserving practices into the services that we provide to people, right, as a city, right? So that's what we can do on our end so that you can feel comfortable interacting with the city, right? We're gonna keep your information safe. We're not gonna use it inappropriately or share it without telling you who we're gonna share it with, right? That type of thing. So we're working on the city side with all the departments to make sure that everything that we do has privacy kind of baked into it, right? I think having this conversation here today is another one. We do have a public-facing website, which I think is on some of the resources on the back table, that has kind of a privacy resources page, right? It has a whole bunch of links to vetted, reputable sites where you can find step-by-step guides and how-tos of like how to change your privacy settings, right, on social media, right? How to find out where they are, where to click, how to do that for some of the apps you might have on your phone, pretty common apps, right? Or even your mobile phone itself, that type of thing. So we do have some resources available for folks to go check out. And then our team also has, we take questions all the time from members of the public. So if you have a question or you need help with something, you can always reach out to our team, and we can provide assistance in that way directly as much as possible. So, yeah.
And this might be a good question for the audience, whether you have something top of mind right now or you want to think about it and tell Sarah later. But my understanding is that you all are looking to community to help inform what resources should be created and available. So if you have ideas, you know, you're really stuck on a certain trouble spot, or you keep getting this one scam over and over, and who should you report this to? Those kinds of things would probably be helpful for Sarah to hear so that the city can create useful things for community.
That's exactly it. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Sorry about the situation. Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure that we are helping people, right? Like our commitment, our existence as a program focused on data privacy is about protecting personal information of all the Seattle residents, right? And so when you interact with the city, that is. And so we don't know what we don't know, right? And so I think this is a good opportunity, like if you guys have any feedback for us about, well, I always run into this problem, it would be really useful to have some tips or tricks around this particular type of thing. That's what we want. We want to put that on our website. We want to come talk to people about those kinds of topics that really resonate. Because we can talk about boring privacy stuff all day that might be interesting to us, but it might not be useful to you guys, right, or people. So if you guys have any ideas or thoughts, we would love to hear them.
And you know, speaking of tools, I want to go back to Sharon's kind of helpline, which sounds like a real lifeline for people stuck with whether you're having trouble logging in or remembering your password or your computer's literally on fire. So how would someone access that and get help from Equity in Education?
Yeah, let me get the number, because I don't have it memorized.
She's pulling up the phone number. And this is available to anybody in the state of Washington? Or Washington in quotation marks, which is just between Seattle and Tacoma.
So we don't ask where people are calling from. So while yes, according to some grants, we only serve the state of Washington, I can neither confirm nor deny that it is just for the state of Washington. Phone calls come in, we don't ask for like zip code, we don't ask for area code, because everybody, 90% of the phone calls are from cell phones. So, you know, people have zip codes from different places. Mine is the same telephone number from 2001. If I were to change my number, my mother would shoot me. Like, it's the only number she remembers. So that is, I talk about my mom a lot. Please don't tell her that. She would be horrified. So Tech Connect is actually, oh, look at them being on Johnny on the spot. They just chatted with me and wanted to know if they can help me in any way. Little do they know it's me. So we have a telephone number. So there's different ways to get to Tech Connect. Tech Connect, the staff work 12-hour days, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. They speak 11 different languages, not including English. So they are really, you see that? I'm like, welcome back.
Yes.
Let us know if you have any questions. That's Danny. Danny speaks Spanish, and he and my mother have become very good friends to the point where my mother is now the godmother to his baby, and I was just like, she calls him twice a week. So the telephone number is 1-800-216-8255. 1132. It's 1-800-216-1132. You can go on the website, it's techconnect.org. There will be a chat that comes up. It's not them trying to, figure your life out. It's just, you can also chat with them on Facebook. You can chat with Tech Connect on WhatsApp. We are launching an actual app for, we're starting with Android because I don't like iPhones. So we're starting with Android. We will be launching the iPhone app next week. So you can download it and just hit the app button on your phone and it will bring you to Tech Connect and someone will be able to talk to you or call you back on your phone. And there is also a contact page. We try to be really careful about not having it all be online because a lot of our folks don't use online services. So the first thing we did was launch the telephone. And it is an 800 number. If you call outside of the work hours, there's a voicemail and we respond within 4 or 5 hours.
And is it free to talk to you?
Yes, not to me.
Johnny or whoever answers the phone.
You do not want me answering your tech support questions. That's not a good look. Yes, it is absolutely free. You can, like I said, there's the 12 hours, 7 days a week. And we are going to be launching you're the first to know, we will be launching a mobile version of Tech Connect where we actually have a van that will be driving to different parts of the state. So we will be we're not gonna be in King County first because that's not the way we work things, but we'll be in Pierce County, Kitsap, Grant, Stevens. We'll be going throughout the state in major hubs and like here, and people will be able to bring in their laptops or tablets or phones, and we'll be doing a one-on-one session with everybody. So yes.
I'll let you finish your thought.
No, go ahead. What's up?
Well, you were talking about drop-in locations. Do you have a list of drop-in locations?
Yes, I can. One of the locations is in we keep fighting whether it's in the International District or North Beacon Hill because the difference is 1 block. But there's a drop-in location at our building. We will have, we're working with certain what are called anchor institutions. So we're working with some locations of assisted living, community centers, institutions of faith and religion, to be able to set up 1 or 2 days in which we have drop-ins. So for example, we have a drop-in after church in one of the Latino churches in Burien. And it's sort of scary the first time your priest comes up to you with his laptop and it's just like, I think I broke it. I'm like, okay, cool. But I will have a list for you. It will be available.
And one little follow-up question. Do you mostly deal with communities of color, underserved communities, people of color, people of different ethnic backgrounds? I mean, do you serve this population? I mean, would we find?
We do not discriminate on who we serve. So we serve anybody who has an issue with technology. Yeah.
And it sounds like the drop-in locations might change on a regular-ish basis. So is there a place people can go to kind of see what the current status is?
Yeah, so the website is the best place right now. I will let you know that all of this will be available on our app. So so it's called Connect WA. It is currently available for only Androids in the Google Store. Next week it will be available for iPhones and desktops and laptops. So you'll be able to go to like the Microsoft Store, the Google Store, or the Apple Store and download it starting March 1st. we hope to be able to invite all of you to our launch in April. It's going to be down. You're going to have to get a passport because it's going to be down in South King County. So start getting all your paperwork ready. We were also thinking of getting some buses together for some of our elders and some of our senior folks, as well as some of our youth who cannot drive, so that we can launch it and have people. My hope is, right now the app is pre-installed in about 20,000 phones, laptops, and tablets being serviced by T-Mobile. I would love to get to 1 million by the end of 2024, so I'm gonna need all of y'all's help. But it's got the Tech Connect work, but it also has a lot of other resources. So if you are looking for food delivery, if you're looking for help for My Chart, if you're looking for immigration services, if you're looking for a local faith-based location, so almost anything that you could be looking for in terms of resources that would fulfill your life or make your life better, we have that listed on the app store, on the app, and you can get it. Speaking of privacy, if you do allow the app to find your location, you can do a 5-mile radius. So if you wanted to look for a childcare center that speaks Russian, you can put that information into the app and it'll show you the 6 or 7 specific. So to answer your question, a long way to answer your question is it'll be on the app, but I will also put all the information up on our website, and that's probably the best place to go. Sorry.
No. Sarah, you mentioned earlier that the city of Seattle has also a website with different resources on it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you could share a few examples of what those resources are and why they're useful, hopefully useful.
Yeah, hopefully, right?
Yeah. And kind of
tell me.
Yeah, good chance for feedback. And also just kind of looking ahead, what are the priorities from your perspective that the city's going to be tackling when it comes to data privacy?
Yeah, so first I'll start with the first part, which is about the resources. So like I said, there's a bunch of resources that link to sites that we use and often recommend to folks around things, just general tips and tricks about how to be aware of both security and privacy practices online. So again, it would be things like, how do I see what my privacy settings are on my app that I use all the time, right? And if I wanted to change it, how do I do it? Those types of things, right? There's information about if your information is compromised, right? Then how you can report that as well. So there's lots of information about how to be proactive in protecting yourself online, but also information about if something bad happens, here's where you go or what you should do. And so, let us know if you have any feedback, if you go check it out. And then in terms of what we're tackling at the city now and new, I think I mentioned earlier, we're kind of in this new responsible AI space with some emerging technologies, right? And so some of the things that we're grappling with is, while new technology is exciting and fun and provides a lot of utility, right? Like, I'm here, like I was so excited when food delivery started happening besides pizza, right? Like Uber Eats all day. But there's some new novel concerns and risks that come with emergent technologies. And so what we are trying to do is, with AI technologies, is identify what are those risks and how can we address those and put some controls in place when city lines of businesses and departments use those technologies, right? So when we talk about something like generative AI, one of the big concerns is people creating those big scams using voices or images of people that are familiar to you, right? And they can really create a likeness where you might not be able to tell, right? And so that kind of pulls on the heartstrings of trust, right? Oh, I know this person, right? That's their voice. Like, they're asking me for this information, I should provide it, right? And so these tools are very powerful, but they also present a lot of risk and concern. So what we're working on is trying to say, hey, we understand these things can be really, really useful and exciting and fun to use, but how can we do that in a way that we're not just openly doing that and opening ourselves up to be susceptible to some of those concerns that we have around those types of issues, right? And so that's kind of what we're doing, is saying, hey, how can we work with our departments to understand what the risks are, what the tools are, what needs to be in place so that we can address those, so we make sure that we, as a city, don't pass those risks on to you guys, just in the services we're trying to provide.
So is that sort of the next frontier of scams that we should be getting ready for? Like receiving a video of someone we think we know and assuming that it's safe to communicate with that person?
Yeah, we're seeing that already. They call them deep fakes, and it's very concerning. And if you were to ask me, well, how do I spot a deep fake? I would say, I don't know, unplug it and plug it back in. Like, which is not the answer. But those are the types of things we're trying to work through, right? And this is where we're really going to be partnering a lot with, kind of the companies that are creating and offering these tool sets for us to use, is to say, you tell us what protections you can build in for us, right? As we use these tools, and then so we don't have to transfer that risk in just by way of using them, to the folks that we serve. So, absolutely.
Scary.
I don't know if I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Here, well, how about you first, and then we'll go back to you.
Hey, I have a problem. I don't talk on the phone hardly ever, but I get 6 million, well, not 6 million, too many calls from salesmen that want to talk to me, and I don't have any way to shut them up, so slam.
That's what I also do.
The other thing is that when somebody calls, we've got 3 rings to answer, and the phone company shuts the call down.
We need tech help with our landline phone. So.
Yeah, landline. If you remember that, then
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a couple, I'm going to repeat your question also for the sake of the online folks too. So 2 questions here. One is, how do we get all of those spam phone calls to stop? They seem endless. So that's one question. And the other question is, how can we change the settings on a landline so that you have longer lead time, more than just 3 rings when you're on the other side of the house to try to get to the phone, right? So I think maybe Sarah, do you want to take the first question? Then I saw Simone, do you have something to say about the phones?
No. I think we were just talking about which she has a bullet from right now. So in terms of the spam calls, there's like a don't contact me, like a list, right? That you can call and kind of remove yourself from essentially the spam list. So it's not going to be 100% foolproof, I'll tell you right now, but will help reduce the volume of spam calls that you do get. And I don't have the exact, you might have it up, I don't know the exact URL for it.
It's donotcall.gov.
Donotcall.gov. So, yeah, so you can register your phone number there, and then they'll take you off the list. And then, I don't know the answer to the other question.
I do.
Okay.
Actually, I'm horrified that I do know the answer to this question. On your actual land phone, the one that's connected to your wall, there is a button on the bottom of your phone that you can move to go from 3 rings to 6 rings to 9 rings before voicemail picks it up. You're welcome. On your actual phone,
On the house.
on the actual house phone, right? So the one that's connected to the wall. There's a little black button that you can move from 3 to 6 to 9 rings. I know.
I've never heard
We'll
that
check.
before. I've had phones from when there were only 6 numbers.
Yeah, so I've had phones. So my first phone number started with an I, just to let you know how old I am. And I just found this out like a year ago. Danny, who speaks Spanish and is on Tech Connect, got a phone call from my mom. I know. I know. And that's how, and he discovered it. And then he called me and was just like, if this ever comes up, I was like, who has a landline? Hi. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do. So you can move the phone, you can move the ringer from 3 to 6 to 9.
And are these the type of questions that somebody could call Tech Connect with?
Yes.
Okay, so if you missed it or you forget and then you want to follow up later, you could call Tech Connect and someone can walk you through getting on the do not call list, which I'm definitely going to do when I get home, as well as changing the settings on your landline phone. We have, oh wait, okay, so I want to do a few more questions. So we had back here.
Go ahead, let the others, I don't want to.
We'll get back to you then.
Is there any way you can get a list of where classes are about basic computer software?
Yes.
Yes, so the question is, where can I get a list about classes for basic computer software?
At the senior centers, at the community colleges, is there someplace I can get that not online?
Yes.
Someplace you can get that not online.
It's like mailed to me, or go to the library and get it, or something like that.
So, Sharon, do you want
I will get your postal address and send it to you.
Okay, great.
And I can do that for anybody here.
Okay, great.
Can you send a bunch here?
I've got millions, so I can send them anywhere
So-
if you want me to.
So
yeah.
I'm going to volunteer Sharon and Tech Connect to send a bunch of resources here to the Ballard Senior Center so that people can pick up a physical hard copy.
Yeah, I will drop them off too. So we've got hard copies, we've got little, we've got business cards that you can put in your wallet, we've got pens that have them. We are a big tchotchke kind of girl. That's who I am. So if it's not branded with our stuff, it's because they don't make it.
And the library, Emily, I don't know where you went. Oh, the library is also a good resource, and the library typically has like physical things you can walk away with.
Sometimes you can find stuff, but I'd like some sort of something comprehensive.
Yeah.
I got you. Great.
And I saw a hand here.
Yeah, with respect to privacy, sometimes Google asks me when I'm on my laptop, do I want to go on a VPN, which is Virtual Privacy Network, maybe? And is that really like safer than just being out there? And then equity, the Affordable Connectivity Program is ending April, and I would like to have that addressed.
So I'm going to again repeat the questions here. So first one is, when you're Googling something, you're online, sometimes a website pops up asking you to be redirected, right, to what's called a VPN site. And the question is that a good thing? Should you click yes? Should you just like panic and shut it down? What do you do and why? And then the second question was the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a federal program providing low-cost internet connectivity, is unfortunately ending soon. And so how can that be addressed? So I think I'll let Sarah answer the first part at least.
Yeah. So I do use VPNs. I don't use the ones that pop up. I have my own personal one.
Can you back up a second and explain what VPN is?
Yeah.
Virtual private network.
Yes.
Private network, VPN. Okay. Yes. So I think they're generally a really good tool to use. So basically, it provides an additional layer of protection when you're kind of navigating the web, right? And so they're typically good. I don't know about the pop-up ones. I don't think I've ever used those. I typically don't click yes on pop-ups myself. Like, so, but as a general rule, VPNs are a good way to go. And there are ones that you can install or have that are low-cost, no-cost types of solutions generally. And I don't have a list of them off the top of my head. So I would say yes to VPNs, but maybe no to pop-up requests, if that helps. Yeah.
And that sounds like a potential resource tool that
Yes.
the city might want to consider helping people navigate.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And I did want to address the Affordable Connectivity Program as well. So unfortunately, the federal funding for that program was not renewed. I think it's ending I think the money runs out in April, if I'm not mistaken. So that's very unfortunate. There's like a sliver of hope that perhaps some funding will drop from the sky, but I think that feels very distant. So I do know that the Seattle IT department and IT folks, you can weigh in as well, have put together a list of other resources here locally that can help people access reduced cost internet. But unfortunately the ACP is ending.
And how to access those resources?
Yeah, do you have the best website at the top of your head?
I don't have the URL, but we can quickly navigate to it.
I can't navigate to anything in this room at this moment.
Oh, okay. Well then, it will be the seattle.gov/privacy site, which is, again, our website that we've been talking about today, and you can find on some of the handouts back there. If you go to that page, you will be able to navigate from that page to the the digital equity, and I think the affordable, I mean, it's not called the affordable connectivity team, what's it called?
For City of Seattle?
Yeah, it's the cable.
Like Alice's team?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, I apologize. Names change at the city all the time, so team names change. But it will be there, and so I can actually provide you guys the URL. Service.
And if you are on the age-friendly Seattle listserv, we will also send out those resources too.
Great.
And if you're not,
I don't know.
well, we will be happy to check for you. There's a sign-up sheet, I think, going around.
Yeah.
Yep, and Sharon just reminded me that this is also something you could call Tech Connect with. If you want to call and say, how do I get, I'm losing my affordable connectivity, how do I find a local resource?
Thank you.
Yes.
Music is a big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to the pandemic, prior to all the changes that Apple and Microsoft have made in whatever they sell, I have lost the capacity to transfer CDs onto my iPhone. Do you know of someone that can help with that?
Good question. So just to repeat for folks, wondering if there's a resource to help transfer music from CDs onto an iPad or, the cloud, whatever that is.
Not the cloud.
No.
My
iPhone.
iPhone,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So if you call Tech Connect, call Tech Connect, we can actually help you go. So you're putting it in your desktop, I'm assuming. So we will walk you through some software that you download that will move the music from your CD onto your phone so that you can carry it with you at all times. It will also put it on the cloud for you so that if you ever do lose your phone, you don't lose your music.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, we have a few minutes, but I know you had a question, so I want to make sure we get back.
I guess just in listening to what's been happening, a lot of what, get my name straight, Sarah. A lot of what Sarah has been talking about has been city related. It's not individual. So if we need individual help, we really need to go with Sharon. Is that right? You can help us individually at Tech Connect, where you're just watching, you're just helping the city look out for us. But you are not the person we would contact to say, I can't get my music.
No, because what happens at the city does also reflect what we can do, right? So like if you were to call Sarah and be like, the ACP is a hot mess and I don't know what's happening, and Xfinity just called and now they're charging me $600 a month, she and her team can turn around and call Xfinity and be like, hey, we've been hearing from community that this is a problem. And then we can develop a relationship where she solves that problem, then we know what the solution is, right? So yes and no. We're all in community with each other, so that if you tell her she'll fix it, then I can fix it for you.
You do big problems, you do little problems. Is that an easier way for us to understand? I mean,
I think we both solve problems at the systems level so that you don't have to. In different ways, right? Like we'll have the help desk, but it's because they're doing the amazing work at the city.
And I see our host has something to say. So.
I just want to make sure many of you are frequent visitors to Ballard Senior Center and they already know about this service we offer, but for those of you who are not, we have a digital navigator here on staff. He's here every Monday, provides one-on-one assistance with navigating all kinds of technology issues. He sees people by appointment, so it is important to call ahead and make an appointment, but he's here every Monday. His name is John. He's great. Give us a call and he will set aside 45 minutes to spend with you.
And things you could bring to John, I'm just gonna guess, tell me if this is right, potentially CDs and an iPhone to say, help me connect these things. Right. Is that kind of something John would sit and walk someone through?
John's focus is individual issues, whatever you need. So his focus is walk in with a problem, walk out with either a solution or a pathway to finding a solution. And he may tell you if he can't fix it, call Tech Connect.
That's the whole of it.
Everyone sort of works together. And I know we're actually a few minutes over time, so I just want to give our panelists, if you have a few words that you want to leave us with.
Yeah, call Tech Connect. That's it, call Tech Connect. Just call them all the time. That's what they're there for.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I would just say, one, thanks for having us, and two, if you have any questions about privacy in general, or questions about how the city is doing privacy or anything like that, you can always reach out, privacy@seattle.gov, and we're happy to help. And I hope folks can walk away with the sense of like, this is a whole area of work and concern and help and support, right? And so I hope that you guys have taken away that, there are things that you can do to get the help and support that you need, and never feel shy about asking for it. So.
Yeah, thank you. I know I learned some things today, so thank you. I will be signing myself up for the Do Not Call list, and I will have Tech Connect on speed dial because I am not so great with technology, so great resource. And just big thank you again to Ballard Senior Center, and thank you to all of you. It's great to have your participation